Please rise for silent invocation, followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Foley?
Here.
Councilman Gettleman?
Here.
Councilman Green?
Here.
Vice Mayor Gross?
Here.
Mayor Silva?
Here. Everybody's here tonight. Good. Item 4, public comments on consent agenda items only.
Where is Robert?
Public comments on consent agenda items. We'll check on him later. Make sure he's okay. All right. Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
Move to approve items consent agenda 5 through 8. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gettleman?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gross?
Yes.
Mayor Silva?
Yes, 5-0. Item C, public participation non-agenda. Is this the only one I have?
Yes.
Okay. Joey Posey to speak on Palin Acres. Welcome.
Joey Posey, 420 South Nova. Almost said my usual thing. It's different being on this side of it. And I just wanted to take us a little time, and I appreciate you being able to speak at public comments and having this opportunity that to comment on the last hearing and all of the discourse that we had going back and forth with neighbors that we had heard. Again, even on our end, going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out what can we do to make this project the best project it can be. But the thing that I want to stress and try to create some urgency is that the opportunity is here. Like the opportunity to try to find the best project is here, and I really would be remiss if we missed an opportunity to continue to close off that discussion. That based on what we heard that night, how to find a way to address the concerns we heard from the neighbors, to make the design tweaks that we think that will be good neighbors, and actually plead to you guys that I think by implication of what resulted from that night, that we're foreclosed by the code. We don't get another chance at that. We don't get to have another look at this, and again, I'm first to admit that there's no commitment being asked for. If the answer still ends up being a no, it's a no. That's not why I'm here. Why I'm here is to not give somebody who wants to make an attempt at it an attempt to do something that he can do for the best for the community. And again, I think the only path forward to make that happen in accordance with your code is actual council discretion to bring that forth. So that would be the plea from our end. And of course, everybody's on a timeline and trying to keep these projects alive to while the iron's hot, trying to make the changes we can. So we have a small window here to make that happen. So if there's a way to get there, I would appreciate it if we at least there's a deliberation by this body to have that discussion and to at least give us the opportunity to come back and try to work through the process again, subject ourselves to the discourse, and again, engage neighbors. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to shy away from it, and I would hope that we at least get that at least consideration, regardless of what the outcome ends up being. And that's all I have. So with that, I close my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And that's the only one for tonight?
Yes, sir.
All right, on to council comments. We'll start with Councilman Foley. Welcome, sir.
How you doing? I missed you guys.
Good to see you.
Just only comment is that just a reminder that in 2 weeks, I may miss the meeting. I'll be flying back in that day. I intend to try to get here, but I had no concerns, but watching the air traffic delays get worse and worse and worse, I just want to make it y'all aware that there's a chance I won't be here in 2 weeks. Otherwise, I got nothing for you.
All right. Councilman Grubbs, I probably should have started with you since you're the best well-dressed tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a county council meeting today, and I got to finally go over there and see them, and I will say their meetings run way longer. Thank God they start in the morning, because it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning finishing. But they happen on Tuesdays, same day as us, so generally we can't get over there, so I got a chance to go over. Trunk or treat, wow. Wow, staff, everybody that was involved in that was just amazing. Willow Run overflow went from City Center all the way down to the end of Hidden Lake Road, both sides. Yeah, both sides deep. Amazing event that happened. So congratulations on doing a fantastic event for Parks and Recs and everybody else that was involved to make that happen. I know it takes a team to do that. Shout out to the finance department. They don't get a whole lot of hearsay sometimes. Everybody goes finance. But finance department winning the contest for the pumpkins it was absolutely awesome. But not
Counting them or?
But finance department, one of the things that I want to point out with them is with the new Tyler system that was implemented by them, one of the things that it does is it sends out multiple emails, multiple ways of contacting people that they used to have to do manually. And because of that, they've multiple emails going out for the water bill. They've actually had a 70% drop and decrease of shutoffs. Now, that's huge, you know. That's us not going out and having to take care of somebody and shut their water down and things of that nature. It's us being with them as a good patron to them, back and forth, and getting the water bills taken care of, so we're not having to shut people off, which is by no means what we want to do, but a 70% because of a new computer system. So thank finance department for getting that going, and that's been a yearly average now that it's been turned on. That's happened. So it shows that the money that we spent with this new system, even though it was a reduction in cost for the overall city, it also helped us with manpower, that we're not having to spend hours in manpower time. So that's actually a savings in itself too. So shout out to the finance department. That's all I got.
All right. Councilman Gephardt. Or did you want to yield to Councilman Green first?
Yeah.
I saw that. Councilman Green.
Again, I went to the trunk or treat, and wow, what a showing! It was absolutely slammed, and what a great event, and a lot of volunteers, and it was pretty cool. I do want to comment on Mr. Posey's speech, I guess, or his 2 minutes, and I want to talk about that project, and again, what I think, how I feel, what happened at last meeting. In my opinion, I don't think we treated this developer correctly. And I firmly believe that if we were not going to consider his land use with that project, we should have never let him annex. We should have never let him done it. If we were going to say no, we should have said no at annexation, like Councilman said at the meeting. And personally, I think it's a good project. I think it's smart growth, and I think overall we need, we still need new construction in Port Orange because we're losing houses by 10 houses a year to FEMA being torn down. We have no new houses coming online. We're going to be no more new houses in the next 5 years. We're going to be built out. So, and I personally think it's a smart project. But if we were going to turn him down, we should have turned him down in annexation and not let him go through everything that we've been through now and then say, no, we're not going to let you do it. I am of the opinion that based on their willingness to modify and to come to the table again, to possibly make changes again, to make the project work, I would like to make a motion to have the 12-month waiting period to resubmit this project waived for this project. Right now, there's a 12-month waiting period before he could resubmit this project with potentially any changes on it. I would like for us to at least waive that, let him come back, and let's bring it back again to a full council.
I'll second that for a matter of discussion.
Okay. You have a motion, restate the exact motion you're making again now?
I'm making a motion to waive the 12-month resubmittal timeframe to bring the project back or to resubmit the project,
The same project.
the same project. Or an amended project, or to resubmit, I guess am I saying that right?
Yeah, let me, I'll just help you with the code site because I think it'll be beneficial. So Chapter 3, Article 1, Section 7, once a rezoning is denied, an applicant or any individual for that same piece of property cannot come back with a reapplication for 12 months. So I believe what you're saying is you want to waive that provision. That provision does allow for City Council to make an exception. So unless Council makes an exception, there is a 12-month waiting period now for that property to come back with any rezoning application. You can waive that tonight. I think that's what's being requested.
So that's the motion I'm making, is to waive the 12-month resubmittal, so to let them, because again, I think they're willing to bring this back to us based on our comments, based on the public comments, and again, I firmly believe that they should have a full council up here when that comes back before us.
Okay. We'll have discussion on, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Clerk, do you understand that motion? Okay. My first comment would be that for something like this, it should be an agenda item. I don't recall this particular type of motion or consideration for a decision the entire time I've been on city council. Have we ever had anything like this?
Not to my
before?
knowledge, like 5 or 6 years.
No. So
So laying down some groundwork?
well, so we typically don't do business, the people's business on, especially items that don't have a major urgency without them being agenda items, so that the public can come and speak to this and council can have the opportunity to consider things like this. So my first inkling would be, if council wants to put this on a future agenda to be considered, I think that is actually appropriate. That's the format it should be done. I don't think that should be voted on during general council member comments for something so significant. Obviously, seeing the amount of public interest in that particular topic. I would just say that the annexation and the project being brought forward are two different things. I don't recall anybody saying that nobody ever wanted to see any development or project ever on this property. I think everybody had some concerns. The public clearly has some concerns. My concerns were specifically to the project itself that was brought, the density that was brought, and the fact that the county has a master stormwater study for that specific basin area and the impacts of what more development would be, as well as what that area can truly deal with. Ironically, a week and a half after we had that meeting, we saw this massive rain event again, 30 miles south of us. I think every single one of us knows if that would have been 30 miles north, tonight's meeting would be totally different, and full of people and devastated homeowners again. That's my thought on that, in terms of what I was thinking in that project and other aspects of it. But that being said, I'll give everybody a chance to weigh in on it. Did you want to go ahead?
So I was going to actually talk about not the project itself, but the process. We are an elected body of 5 individuals to represent our constituents in our city. And on that particular night, we did not do that. We had 4 members here, and I believe that when we have items like that that are significant to this city financially, we would not do our budget hearing with 4 members. We would not take a vote with 4 members. We would have probably tabled it till we had full representation of the city. That's what the citizens deserve. That's why there's 5 and not 4. We had a 2-2 vote on a huge project that whether it was going to pass or not, with 5 of us here, we didn't give it that chance. We owe that to the people who are investing in our city, and we owe that to the citizens who have elected us to be up here to take those votes. And we did not give that developer that opportunity. I shared my concern about that night. It came off as being a bully or trying to strong arm the two of you to change your mind. No, I didn't want you to change your mind. I wanted you to give the citizens of the city what they have in our charter, which is 5 voting members on this council, and we failed to do that. So, to me, bringing it back, I don't think we need, we're not changing the code. We're asking for an amendment to the code to bring back the project. That's what Lance is asking for. We don't need a public hearing because we're not changing code. We're just doing an amendment to it.
Making a decision.
We're making a decision would it be considered an amendment or like a variance or?
You're just exercising a provision of the code. It's in the code that you have the authority, city council, to waive this 12-month waiting period.
Yeah.
So you're just exercising a provision that's already in your code.
So it's already in the code that we can make a decision tonight without it being a public hearing. Because and I'm not trying
I'm
to.
not saying you can't, but I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that the right thing for us to do and consider that as opposed to something of that significance? Clearly, look, there's not a lot of meetings where we have people standing in the hallways and outside, right? So we know there's a massive amount of public interest in that particular project and the decisions anybody will ever make in these kind of projects. And all I'm saying is, I think that it would come across as a significant amount of distrust in the public for us not to have this particular motion on an agenda item for people to come back and talk about if they believe that the elected body should exercise that authority to make that decision to bring it back within sooner than the 12 months. That's all I'm saying about that.
And I'm okay
saying
with that as well. I'm certainly okay with that, to put it on the agenda so people can come up and speak in reference to waiving the 12-month requirement. Because the 12-month requirement, so everyone can understand, was when this city was exploding with growth. And the staff was being overwhelmed with if this council said no to something because they didn't like the size of it, they were coming back within, I remember, quickly, causing a burden on the staff, and there was just we were moving a lot of projects. We have slowed down we've slowed down in development considerably over the years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been on the planning board. In the last 5 years, you've seen less. I mean, just think about residentially outside of the project in Talent West, which was in the plan since 2005, the project behind Sugar Mill. There hasn't been a lot of development, so it has slowed down. So I could see back in 1999 to 2005, we were exploding. I mean, Water's Edge was being developed in 1996. And then you had Pinnacle Park and Ashton Lakes and Sable Creek and all those developments. So there was a reason why they wanted to give time a cooling off period. We don't need that now. So if we bring it back to public, put it on the agenda so the public can speak, they just need to understand it's on allowing them to do it within 12 months. And I have no problem with that.
Tracy?
So the 12-month issue was brought up to me, and as a business owner, I agree with you too. I do believe it needs to be an agenda item with those same folks. If they want to come and talk to us about it, that's perfectly fine. I don't think it needs to be a voting decision tonight on it, but I think it needs to be on the next agenda to allow public to come out. As far as a disservice or discord with what we did as far as 4 individuals, I disagree with you. The applicant had complete control of that, of pulling that agenda item. To have 5 of us sitting up here, the applicant, and they did not. So the vote went through. Sometimes you have to live with what you get. I deal with that every day in business. Just as Lance, I know you in business, and Scott, and all of us up here do. So the 12-month period, I'm not going to say we're going to stick to that as far as my vote. I would more than oblige to have somebody come forward simply because you should not impede business. But it's got to come to council with the right appetite for us to decide this is the right thing for that area. So again, it goes to a vote, and it is what it is. But if he wants to bring it back, I'm okay with it.
Reed?
Yeah, well, a couple of things, and I'm sorry, I'm a little sidetracked here, but just because it was brought to my attention, apparently our live stream is down right now online. Is that, Robin, I'm sorry to ask you, but it's down right now. Are we still broadcasting at all, or?
It's on cable.
It's on cable, but it's not online. Okay. So that only further concerns, like what Scott's saying, the appearance of, perception's reality. I've sat here for 5 years and been a part of this council, and I've learned from the people who've been up here for far longer than me. And sometimes the truth is not always what people hear. They hear what they want to hear. And if that's the case, I definitely don't think it's a good idea to be voting on something that was so outspoken and so overwhelmingly attended. I understand all that we're agreeing to do is to rehear it. And what we're saying is, hey, we're not going to rehear it, by the way. It has to come forward again. They have to go through the entire process from step one, which means planning commission has to hear it again. That means we got to go through first reading, second reading. They still have to have signs. There's no, hey, watch this hand while this one goes over here and does something. So I understand that. But if the live stream's down, I do think this needs to be an agenda item. You're saying possibly the next meeting. I did just during council comments tell you guys I have a flight booked to be back here on the Tuesday of that meeting in the morning. But I can't control air traffic, and Congress is more powerful than I am. And if they don't want to fund these controllers, I can't fly the plane myself. All the simulator practice in the world is not going to get me, back in time if it doesn't work out that way. So then, do you push that for 2 more weeks? Because if it's just going to be another 2-2 vote about hearing it, then, again, I understand that, and I will take full responsibility. My full-time job, which this is not. It's not any of our full-time job, has certainly begun to require a lot more from me than it did when I first took office. And I'm very heightenedly aware of that. And you gentlemen have picked up a lot of slack along the way and allowed me to do that, which allows me to provide for my family. So I'm very grateful. It makes things like this, when we have a large attended meeting with a lot of public comment, and if you guys don't have, if all 5 of us are not here to share in that conversation, it's not fair to the other 4 or the other 3. And I fully embrace that. I do think Scott's point is extremely valid because of that. My concern as well is setting a precedent, which something, when you do things for one person, you have to do them for the next and the next and the next. That's probably my biggest hesitancy if we were forcing ourselves to vote on this tonight. That'd be my biggest hesitancy, although I do understand without having all 5 of us, it does give a valid reason. But then I would ask you, is every vote that goes 2-2 from here on out without a 5th person, we're just going to bring it back forward for 5 people? So, again, it's a lot to think about. I'm not asking for anyone to debate or discuss it with me. Those are just my thoughts on it. And hopefully I'm making those as clearly as possible for you.
If I can comment on, Tracy, you made a comment that it was 2-2 and that, trying to find the words to it, that the developer had every opportunity to pull it. I'm not going to speak for the developer, but I can tell you that he brought it to us, he brought the annexation, and I wasn't dumb to think that he wasn't going to develop it. I knew what was going to happen. He gave it a name, Vintage Acres. We all kind of knew he was going to put homes out there. And he had a 5-0 vote for annexation. I mean, I think he probably had a good idea, and on top of that, all the things he did to make it palatable for stormwater. The public aren't the expert in engineers when it comes to water management. We don't hire the public to do it, we hire an engineer to do it. He hired an engineer to do it. I have a lot of faith in that because what we witnessed over the last 2 years with the enormous amount of rain that fell on our city was that most of our modern subdivisions did not flood homes.
Councilman, I just want to make sure we're not getting too far.
I was actually just going to say, we got to stick to the motion.
So
The point of the motion.
So that's my point.
All right, so we have a motion and we have a second on the floor. Council has had a discussion. Do you want your You want this to go for a vote tonight, or do you
So
want
I'm
to
gonna
rescind
rescind my motion, I wanna rescind my motion.
the motion? Okay.
So now we're just looking for consensus to have that added to an agenda?
You
the
rescind your
future?
second?
I would second to add it on the agenda.
Well, I'm
You
gonna,
rescind his motion?
Yeah, I'll second the rescind.
Okay, so you have
Yeah.
the motion and the second have been rescinded.
all right, so I'd like to make a motion to move this to, the next available agenda, I guess, or whatever, how you wanna term it.
Okay.
Well, next agenda where we're gonna be 5 people, next
Okay.
full agenda.
And do you want to second that motion?
I will second that
Okay, so you
motion.
have a motion and a second to put this on as an agenda item at the next available opportunity for that. Go ahead.
So we can get you on November 18, but you've just been advised it may not be 5 of you. Do you want us to put it on December 9?
I mean, and I'd say that the odds are that I am here. I'd say it's 80-20, but, you know, I can't control everything, and I want to be fully transparent.
80-20 is good.
All right, if 80-20 is good, I'm fine with the
We'll
next.
put it on the next one.
The next meeting.
So, just FYI, my oldest daughter is pregnant. She's due to have
Aw.
a baby in the next 5 weeks. It could land in that time frame.
This goes to why there's five.
But it's,
why
but
there's five
if
votes.
it's
Why
gotta
there's
go
five
in
votes.
January, it's better than 12 months from now. But, you know,
Sorry, Mr. Lindsay.
I'm gonna do everything I can to be there for the birth of my first grandchild.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I know what's important to this city as well.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any public comment? Stan, go right ahead. All right, that was good, Stan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Stan Schmidt, 5574 Trailside Drive. If I understood what the motion was, it was just to enact the waiver of the 12-month period. It wasn't to vote on the project again. That's not going to happen.
Correct.
It's going to put it at an agenda meeting. So you're not doing anything sneaky, if that's what you want to say. You're just saying, hey, we've got the ability to waive that 12-month limitation, and then we're going to bring it back, and so the public will have a chance, and you'll have all of our friends out here again, and that's fine. But am I correct in that?
Correct.
This motion is just to say we can.
Well, the
break-
motion that's on the floor is to put this on an agenda.
Right,
That's-
so
That's
you could-
actually the motion now.
Yeah.
We're not discussing the previous motion that got rescinded.
Well, this whole rescinded thing goes back to, we're going to have lessons on parliamentary procedure. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anybody else wish to speak to it? I'm still, maybe you could tell me what Palin Acres is.
It's the other name for Vintage. It's the
Ah,
same project.
okay.
The-
It's Alias.
Yes, it's
Go ahead.
alias, yes. And I just wanted to comment that I understand the concerns. We're on the same boat. Like, we want as much discourse as we can possibly get with this. And I think I say every time I come up here that I have an open phone, I have an open email, I'm engaged on the discussions. Granted, I haven't received any since the last meeting, but again, it's of record. I say that every time, and I mean it honestly. And the same is true of this discussion, that if the focus of the meeting is to just give us the opportunity to submit whatever form that thing is, that's fine for the 18th, and I just at least wanted folks to understand that if they want to comment and, again, have another discussion beyond that, always available, but I do appreciate you guys, making the effort to try to just, because this puts you in a, I understand where this puts you. This isn't something that you are taking lightly, and you're trying to do the right thing by everybody. I understand that, so I at least wanted to mention that.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, back to council.
May I ask one question?
Go ahead.
Just because we did, I did watch the meeting, over online last time in 2 weeks. And maybe this is Matt, Wayne, either one. Number one, did the developer know that there was only going to be 4 people here, or were they aware of that or no?
Yes, sir, they were.
They were aware. Okay, so that's number one. It's good info to have. Secondarily, if we bring this before us on an agenda item talking about whether or not to waive the 12 months, do we have to take public comment on that, or this is just
Yeah.
council's discretion?
No, you'll be taking public comment.
Yeah,
It'll be an agenda item.
Just want to make sure of that.
Sure.
Okay, cool. I'm
Now,
good.
public comment would be limited to that issue, which is somewhat limited. So, we're not going to have a full-blown debate about what the new project might look like, or, it's going to be limited to this administrative process.
Okay, I'm good. No more questions.
I'm going to have the clerk call the roll on this one.
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Goodford?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gross?
Yes.
Mayor Stillman?
Yes, 5-0 to bring this particular item on council meeting on Tuesday, November the 18th. Thank you. Your turn. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone
That's all I had.
That's all I have.
What I wanted to say was actually part of the conversation in reference to making sure that when we're voting on what's significant business to this city, that we have full representation of the elected officials. That's all. I understand that we all can't be here. Things happen. You had an injury, you travel, I'm gonna have a birth in the family. Things happen. I get that. And I know that the person can actually pull it. But that's all. I just want to make sure that we're conscientious of that. That's all I got. Outside of that, I missed the Halloween trunk or treat. I don't have a trunk because I have a truck. No, I actually had to work that night. Yeah, it's volunteer work. But I was here for the following day, and I didn't find one piece of candy on the ground for the 5K, and that was awesome. To be here that morning at 6 o'clock watching the sunrise, and it didn't look like anyone was here the night before, so great job, staff.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Just a quick comment. So I would encourage all of us to keep in mind the nature of what we do and how we do requires a quorum for a reason. Because in all elected bodies, not everybody will be there, whether that's Senate, Congress, County Council, a City Council, whatever.
Yeah.
When we have a quorum, we will do the city's business. If somebody wants to pull something off of an agenda, they can do that. If a council member wants to make a motion to pull something off of it, we can hear those things as well. So just keep that in mind. All right, I've got nothing else, so let's move on to item E10, Planning Commission Board reappointments. We have 2 people who are looking for more punishment and want to stay on the Planning Commission. I know one of them is here tonight. So Maria Mills messaged me earlier. She was not able to come tonight. She sends her apologies for that. I know Scott Staker is currently here. They would like to be reappointed. Apparently the pay and benefits are outstanding. And there's 3 openings actually on the board, and this term would be for another 2 years. Scott, did you want to come up and talk since you're here? Come on.
Want to talk us out of it?
With the pay and benefits.
Give us a reason to do something we've never done before.
It doesn't even look like Scott. He's half the man he used to be.
What are you willing to pay to be on this board?
That is. We'll make it one.
I appreciate having been appointed for the first term. It's a learning experience. I'm going to tell you, for anybody who's watching, obviously on cable and not on the internet, but for the first year, you have no idea what you're even there for. Right? You get the training of all the things you can't do. Nobody ever sits down and says, oh, and by the way, this is what the job is and how to do it. So you sit quietly for a year, unless you have Stan sitting next to you. And then you go, okay, now I know enough to actually be able to say something and hope I'm adding something of value. And quite frankly, at this point, I think I understand the process well enough just to believe that I have something to offer. And so I would love to have a second opportunity to be able to come in and now, knowing the process and the people and the staff and so forth, to hopefully be more valuable in those decisions we make. So appreciate the opportunity.
It looks and seems very easy on that side of this bench, doesn't it?
Yes, and you sit up there and
Yeah.
realize that every
bit
one
different.
of you is actually listening to what people have to say. And I know if you're over here and the decision that's being made is not the one you want,
Yeah.
you go, oh, well, they're all bought and paid for. It must be. Well, honestly, nobody has come up and offered.
I'm moving at that.
You know, come up with some more type challenging decisions, so maybe somebody will. No, it's a wonderful opportunity to be up there and serve the citizens in the city where I live, and to hopefully, like I said, bring something insightful to the table. And so I enjoy doing it, and I appreciate the opportunity.
We appreciate your willingness to serve.
So what you're saying is, and is it your testimony here today, that you didn't know anything for the first term, so you'll be reimbursing us for the cost to train you?
I will absolutely give you back every penny that I was paid by anybody who paid me any pennies.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to reappoint Maria Mills Bennett and Scott Staker.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, carries 5-0. Item 11, second reading of ordinance number 2025-02. Take it away, Mr. City Attorney.
It's an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending Chapter 54, Article 6, 2003 General Employees Retirement System, amending Section 54-175, defined contribution retirement plan to rely on the plan adoption agreements approved by City Council describing the terms applicable to each of the plans, providing for codification, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2025-02.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on second reading for ordinance number 2025-02. Any comments from council?
No.
Any comments from the public? One more time back to council. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Groves?
Yes.
Mayor Skelton?
Yes, 5-0. Item 12, second reading of ordinance number 2025-28.
It's an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 9, relating to residential docks and commercial marina regulations, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2025-28.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second for second reading of ordinance number 2025-28. Any comments from?
Just that I wasn't here for the first reading of this, but I want to applaud staff and everyone. I think this is a great decision and excited to see it come forward and as a ordinance.
Yeah, some pretty good discussion on it, actually. All right, any other
The only
comments?
other comment I had was, and Councilman Sean here brought it up, is that this picture that's on this doesn't look like Florida, it looks like northern Michigan and a northern Michigan boat. But,
Ohio.
Come on, guys.
other than that, nothing, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Any public comment on this item? Back to council one more time. Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Groves?
Yes.
Mayor Skelton?
Yes, 5-0.
Good.
Levity is a good
Right.
thing. Regular agenda items. Item 13, city attorney evaluation. I guess I'll lead this discussion. Is that me to lead this discussion? Probably so, right? That what you sign up for when you become mayor? All right, so has everybody had an opportunity to meet with or talk to the city attorney?
Yes.
Yes.
I will just say this for those that are new to this position and for those that kind of watch this. This is always a very interesting thing for us, because the reality of it is that, in my mind at least, the city attorney and the city manager are under evaluation 26 times a year, and that's every time we meet. Because if they're not doing the job that they're expected to be doing, then 3 votes will make that change at any given moment. So in my mind, I see it as a constant, ongoing evaluation that never really ends. So this is kind of a unique thing. The other side of it is that because we are a elected body in a city that has a strong city manager form of government, we do not work for the city of Port Orange in day-to-day operations. So we're not here at City Hall seeing the day-to-day operations, the day-to-day management, supervision, direction, and things like that the city attorney and the city manager are charged with doing every day. So it's a very different kind of evaluation process as opposed to the way I used to do a lot of evaluations in my previous career, and others do that have supervisory or managerial type of roles. So it's pretty unique. But the evaluation occurs in public because we're here 26 times a year, sometimes a few more extras, right? So anyhow, Reed, I'll start with you if you want to make any comments on our city attorney.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with Matt now for 5 years, and this year is the first time in his written exam I gave him all 5s. I've always thought there was a little here or a little there, and I have, I've had less notes each year as he's continuing to grow in his role. Matt, it's so weird to talk about you in third person as if you're not sitting over there. But no, and so I'll talk more directly to you. I think you've done a really good job, from forfeitures to just, contracts specifically come to mind. I appreciate your limited need to speak up at our council meetings, but when we do get into a gray area, you do save us from ourselves, and I appreciate that, as well as all the education behind the scenes, before meetings, after meetings. I'm also aware of conversations you've had with other boards that serve underneath of us, from Planning Commission, Parks Rec, things like that. And so I have a great appreciation for what you do for our city and all of the efforts that you put in. And I think you have evolved and continue to get stronger in your role. And, you know, I think you're already an asset from day one, but man, you really, in my opinion, I wouldn't replace you with anyone else that I'm aware of. So I'm very, very thankful to have you for our residents and for our governing body.
3 years of keeping me out of trouble. I know that's a challenge in itself. So, Matt, I appreciate all the conversations we have one-on-one, city and personal. It helps to have somebody that is deep within the organization, that has come through from the beginning of a junior attorney inside that department to be running that department. I think one of the things as we move forward, when we start talking about compensations, I'll talk about another suggestible ideal that we'll bring up. But he runs a department that has given back money into the general budget every year that I've set up here. Now, I don't know about y'all, but he's an attorney. He's giving money back from his department.
Different kind.
It's kind of an unusual thing. So that means he's running a tight ship. I appreciate that. And then having the phone call conversations before meetings, giving us guidance to make sure that we're on the right track, that's invaluable. So, thank you.
Sean?
So, this is my first year on council, and I thank Matt all the time because he's given me a lot of guidance. He knows when I take the conversation, like tonight, a little too far, and I appreciate that. So you definitely earn it. So, you know, looking at his professional skills, there's some things on the evaluation that obviously I'm not aware of, like his legal competency and problem solving, because I don't deal with him on a day-to-day basis. But when it came to communicating to me, he's a 5. That's outstanding. It doesn't get any better on this evaluation. The relationship that he has with me, and it looks like the council has been a 5. His communication's a 5. His relations with intergovernment, solid 5. So it's been a year. You have 3 more to really disappoint me. I don't think it's going to happen. But keep up the good work. Yeah, you don't bring a lot to this council at our meetings. I've actually had someone comment and go, your city attorney never has anything to say. You have a lot to say in our monthly reports, and you're very clear, and that's what I love about your communication skills. So keep up the good work, and we're thankful. You know, one of the things that this county has always strived to do is bring people, raise kids, have them go off and get an education and bring their talent back to Volusia County. They've been talking about that for 30 years, my wife's in education. And you hope that that's what we do, is that someone's from here, he lived here, he went and got his education, he brought his talent back, and we're lucky enough to have someone done that since 2011. You've been on this staff, right? And been leading us since 2019, so great work. So I got nothing.
And I think
else to say.
it's a good thing when your city attorney's not having to talk a lot at meetings.
That's a good thing.
Go ahead, Lance.
Yep.
I'm exactly the opposite on this whole deal, and I'm sure this is going to be. Matt and I
I feel
met.
emotion coming. No, go ahead.
Matt and I met, and again, you know, I've dealt with attorneys for a long time in my career, and what I see in Matt is all just positive, keeping us on the right track. We've talked about his couple of downfalls and a couple of things that he's got to work on internally and externally, and you know, football teams. But other than that, couldn't be happier with where we are. And again, like I said, we had our private talks, and I'll leave it with that. But I appreciate you, man. You're all right.
And I appreciate Sean's comments about you know, having literally a homegrown city attorney. I think that's fairly unusual. So it is a very nice thing to see somebody who grew up in the community, went off and got the education, got all the requirements, developed under another city attorney, got all the experience, and I think that brings a lot. Matt brings a lot because of that as well. And so, you know, when we're talking about things and we have ideas and we want to make decisions, you know, he not only has the knowledge, obviously, for the job, but he also has that personal feel and insight of where we're trying to go. And he can help not only us, but the rest of the city staff go down the path that the elected body wants to go. And so, Matt, it's an honor to have you continue to serve us as the city attorney, and it sounds like at least your job is safe for tonight. So at this point, we can talk about, this is an opportunity, I know Councilman Grubbs mentioned it, this is an opportunity if the council so deems to consider any kind of wage adjustments for the city attorney.
Can we real quick also just, before we start that conversation, because I know, also compliments to Matt's staff that works underneath of him.
Of course,
and
yeah.
That's part of your job, is managing that. But, you know, they've been involved in several things. Obviously, you know, union discussions and things, we get to spend a little one-on-one time with them. But, you know, you're hiring and your management of that department, and their work does not go unnoticed. And so the praise we're heaping on you is also a testament to the work that they do for you and alongside you. So.
Great point. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Would anybody like to? I just closed down my computer, so 1 second. Anybody like to start a discussion on any compensation adjustments?
I think one of the things came to mind last time, and we kind of tabled it, and I think it needs to be brought up. We have two individuals that we're talking about tonight, and compensation is one thing, and I think it needs to be adjusted. Don't know what that number needs to be yet, but one of the things that gets left out with these two individuals is a pension plan. You know, we have contribution plans and 401ks and things of that nature, but all the employees of the city have that. And my wife works for the state. We got a 401k and a pension plan. When you have top people, and it takes us forever to homegrown them, get them to where they need to be, and we trust them and they do a great job, the last thing I want them to do is to be looking elsewhere. Pension plans work to try to help cultivate and keep good people. So I think there's a combination here where we look at salary increase, but also to add a pension plan to that system. Just food for thought for you guys.
So we don't have a pension plan, or
I
our
know.
general employee pension is closed and to new members. So, but understanding that, and
Are you suggesting adding them to FRS? I'm just trying to understand what you're suggesting. I'm sorry.
It's
I didn't mean to step on
whichever
you, Scott.
works
I apologize.
best.
Okay. I don't even know if that's a possibility.
yeah, I mean, I
just-
don't even know that that's a possibility. Maybe for future discussions to be able to be considered, because I'm sure we'll probably have to get guidance from a legal person, like a city
Yeah, I know.
attorney,
The guy
or
down there
something,
to
on
help us
something
with
like
his
that.
own pension.
Or there could even, and I don't even know if our city attorney's interested in something like that. But you've caught me off guard with something. I have no clue what I'm talking about with regard to that, for sure. So, but let's talk about wage adjustments. At least we could start there. Is there any appetite for any kind of a wage adjustment? I know the city attorney did provide some through assistance from human resources on some comparative information. It is kind of unique, I will say, for those that are watching or interested in this particular discussion tonight. Not all municipalities have in-house city attorneys. A lot of cities spend a ton of money for outside legal assistance, which is great when you don't need a lot of legal assistance, and then all of a sudden you do, and now you're at that hourly rate animal, and which is there's no cap on. So anyhow, so that's kind of what we're looking at. Currently, there's only, let's see, New Smyrna, Ormond, and Daytona, and us, aside from the county. It looks like everybody else is pretty much using outside legal services or combinations of the two.
What are your thoughts, guys?
If,
I'm sorry, go
Jump in
ahead.
there.
if you don't mind, so just kind of making public a little bit of what Matt's shared with us salary-wise. You know, Matt's currently at 180. Daytona Beach's city attorney, and this is all public data that was given to us, is at 270. New Smyrna, 220. Does have 2 years more experience than Matt. Ormond Beach has an attorney at 195 who's been there for 20 years, but does have a significantly stronger retirement plan than Matt from what I was able to read up on that. What concerns me, I don't like seeing a Volusia County deputy attorney or Daytona Beach deputy attorney making more than my city manager. And in my head, like, I'd like to get him
City attorney.
I'm sorry, I said city manager. We're going to get to you in a minute, Wayne, don't worry. But in my head, I've got an appetite for going up to around 200,000 flat. That's the number I'd like to discuss. I want him to make. He's a home player. He's been here. He's put in a lot of time. I want him making more than deputy attorneys are making, and I want to give him incentive to want to stay. And I imagine those deputies are also going to be seeing similar raises as well. So he's still probably going to, even at 200, it's going to come in a touch beneath them, but should be really competitive. So that's the number I'd like to entertain.
Is that a motion you're making?
I mean, I'll make it, but
Oh, okay.
I figure I would allow for discussion.
All right, we can
before I
have,
do
yeah,
that.
we can have some more discussion. Tracy, your discussion particular on that?
Go ahead and pass for now.
Your discussion on this end?
I want to know if I could get a little help in, okay, so it says 180, and then the defined contribution, 15% plus 3%. What exactly does that mean?
So the,
Absolutely, it's your money we're talking about.
well, there's kind of two ways that retirements work, and for 2011 was kind of the time when, just to Council or Mayor Stiltner's point about the pension kind of phasing out for general employees. So I was coming in as those were shutting down. So for non-pensioners, it's a defined contribution plan. So in essence, our retirement for all those in non-pension plans is a city contribution while we're employed for the city. So the city will put in X% of your salary into a 401. For us, it's 401A. For private, it's 401K, and it accumulates in a 401A plan, and then that's your retirement. You don't get any. In a pension plan, you get a defined benefit. So when you retire, they'll pay you a percentage of what your average final compensation was for
Right.
the rest of your life. You don't have that with, actually, you
Well,
don't.
401 is going to be based on...
401 is what you're able to
that's-
accumulate during your tenure as an employee, and Wayne is in the same situation.
Okay, so you're getting 15%, and then they're matching you 3 more, so it's 18 total.
Every employee here at the city has an opportunity to participate in the 457 match plan, where you pay 6% to get 3% from the city.
Correct.
So I am engaged in that.
So then you're again, I look at the total package. Your total package in reality is 180 plus 15%?
Sure.
Correct.
Sure.
Okay.
And it went this month to 17 and a half.
Correct.
Correct.
And it's, and there's a final step to 20.
Wait, that was a
already
decision we
negotiated.
made.
Yeah,
Okay,
already
that's-
negotiated.
The
already-
previous
Okay.
council.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. So we have one, does that step come next year?
Next year.
Next year.
Okay, and then that was
That's
the
it.
final?
That's what was agreed to last session.
Okay, all right. I'm good. I like the number that Reed has come up with.
Okay, so I want to know though, but again, I want to be clear, Reed, when you say you want to go to a certain number, is that the total number or is that base number plus the 15?
Well, 17 and a half.
Because currently, right now, the total package is 207.
Correct, exactly. I have the same math. So
Okay.
I'm glad to see both our calculators are doing the same thing.
Okay, but so you're not saying 180 plus 15, you're
No,
saying...
I'm saying I'm looking at the salaries that are there of those deputies at 190, and you know they're going to go up significantly. So I'm thinking 200, and then he'll get 17 and a half as his retirement. It probably puts his total compensation package. So the match is every employee has that, right? So looking specifically for him, and actually that's pretty easy math. What, 200,000 times 1.175, and you get an ad for
Well, it's really 20.5 when they do the match. 3%.
But every employee has that throughout the entire,
Yeah.
like, we even have
Still
that, or
package.
I'm sorry, we don't have that, but that puts his total compensation package at 235, all in, that's retirement and salary. But I'm at $200,000 salary, which then the 17.5 would take care of the additional retirement.
I'll just comment that I do think that years of time in the position are very relative when we make these discussions and we look at comparisons. There are attorneys around the area that work in municipal government that have been in the seat for much, much longer, so you would expect over time they've acquired those things. So I also have always kind of thought that the population has a factor, you know, where you have an attorney who represents a city with 65,000 people versus an attorney that represents a city that has 25,000 or 250,000. I think there's some relative stuff that in that regard as well. As far as like the deputy county attorneys, I mean, Volusia County's got 600,000 people. So having a flight of 3 attorneys makes a lot of sense for, you know, an organization that size. So I don't know how much of that we can really make that comparison, but it's worth making that notation that you did. I kind of had, you know, knowing what we have done for the general employees this year, I was kind of thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of a 5% salary increase. So you're considerably higher than what I kind of had in mind, which is okay. That's why we're a voting body. But so those were my thoughts. I think a wage adjustment is definitely the right thing to do tonight. I appreciate Matt clarifying the pension changes or the retirement changes, contribution changes were made by the previous council and were designed to phase those in. So this is in the second year of a 3-year phase for that'll go to 20%, which is pretty competitive, and that's a really nice benefit in and of itself. So, all right, did you want to form yours into a motion? And
Hold on, one more question. So,
Okay.
so you're saying, so in 2026, the defined contribution goes to 20%?
correct.
No matter what the salary is? I mean,
Correct. It's a percentage.
Yeah, it's based on
so
percentage.
this year it's going to 17.5, next year it's going to the next one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And that'd put that total compensation at 240 next year if there were no salary adjustments. No, but if there's not an appetite for a number that high, you know, I'm not gonna force anybody on that. It sounds like Sean and I are in similar cases, but
I want to, can I talk about it?
Sure.
So you brought up a good point about population size, because we're going to talk about this with Wayne's deal here. I was 200, obviously, was a number. I wasn't looking at that originally, but when you said it, I said, hey, you know what? Based on population-wise, and probably the fact that we're a little bigger than Ormond by population of about 20-something thousand, and right now our attorney's 180, they're at 194. He's probably getting a raise. So I was thinking if that was something that I didn't know if that was already in place in Ormond. I was thinking more in lines of 195, and then he's going to get the 17.5, and then next year he's going to get the 20, and then we can kind of look at it next year. He's got the 20, and then we can kind of get there, work our way. Like Scott said, length of time, you know, 6 years has been a great 6 years. We want you another 6 years, so we got to be competitive. So.
and if I may, my 200,000 was is really high. It sounds really high when I say it out loud. And still, I remember, and Scott could probably back me up on this, with our other 450, 80 employees, we had where we would give some raises and other cities would give raises. And so we're like, hey, we were in the bottom 4 in whatever it may be, whichever union we were negotiating with. We're like, we're going to go to like top 5. And then all the new data would get posted and everyone come out, and we were back down in 9th or 10th. And I'm trying to avoid that a little bit here, because I can imagine a lot of other jurisdictions are going to do similar things here, you know.
Well, most of them probably already have, because normally this happens earlier in the year and it goes into effect when
It's a good point.
the annual budget goes into effect.
We are in November. It
October
doesn't
1.
feel like it, but you're right.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's the case with some of these or not, but that may be.
Yeah.
But in any regard.
Is this an annual thing?
Yes.
Every single year we're going
Every
to do
single
this?
year.
Yeah, it's painful. They look forward to it so much.
Did you make a motion at 200?
I haven't. I can tell there's not 3 votes for it, so
No, I would
I'll
say
make a
there
motion
wasn't
for
3 votes.
195 to raise Matt's salary to 195,000.
Is that a motion?
That is a proper motion.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to increase the city attorney's annual salary to $195,000. Any further discussion from members of council for that particular motion? It's increasing it from 180 to 195,000 on just the salary alone. No comments? Anybody in the public? This is the fun part, the public. I encourage all of the staff members to come up and talk. No, just kidding. Anybody in the public wish to speak on this particular item? Back to council. Any other comments? Matt, I'll give you an opportunity of uniqueness to comment on your behalf. if you'd
No,
like.
I would thank my staff again. We got, 5 people other than me in that office serving 500, and they make me look really good sometimes, but I mean, they're keeping me straight a lot of those times, and all those comments, it really does. They deserve the thanks to support me.
Good.
You hired those
Any-
people, right?
And read on your motion, do you have an effective date as to when this would go in, should it pass?
The very next pay period, I guess.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to increase the city attorney's annual salary from 180,000 to 195,000. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gipper?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
No.
Vice Mayor Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Stiltner?
Yes, 4-1.
Congratulations.
Sorry, bud.
Oh, did you say in that motion he was supposed to buy his staff lunch for a week?
I
that's what it
believe
was.
that's against the law.
All right, very good.
I'll ask the city attorney now that he's making more money than he was.
Item 14, city manager's evaluations. Says that was so much fun. Let's do it again. How about that? All right, so kind of this.
And you don't get to go home.
Not kind of the same thing, the exact same thing. The city manager is the other position in which the council has the authority and the oversight to evaluate nonstop at all times and serve at our pleasure. And I'll go first on this one. The last time we filled this particular position, the city was in a different period of time, and we were really looking for somebody that had the experience and the skill set that our city manager currently has. And we were very fortunate to bring him back to this team. And there were even some, Wayne doesn't mind me sharing, there were even some who said, man, this is not the right guy. And I sat on that process in those interviews, and when I tell you during the interview process, he crushed the competition. It was not even close. And so even though a lot of us had already had experience of working with Wayne and knowing his skill set, the other aspects of what he would know and bring to the table in municipal government really came to light pretty quickly. And so we brought him into a new role, and I think it was probably one of the best decisions that particular council made. Wayne and I met and talked, and a couple of things that I shared with Wayne in terms of what do I really look for in a city manager. And a lot of this comes out of my experience, because I think now I've had 4 different city managers since I've been on the elected board. But as a municipal body, there are times where we think we know where the city's going. We know where we're moving. We know what's important right now, right? We know what the top things are we want to accomplish and we want to do during our terms as elected officials. And boom, something happens, things start changing. And priorities change. And I would say that the experience that I have learned from that is having a city manager who can change direction, who can recognize council now has new priorities, different priorities. And sometimes those priorities need to happen urgently and change, and sometimes maybe there is time to kind of learn a little bit and then proceed. And that is probably one of the biggest strengths that I have noticed with our city manager, is that he doesn't have a horse in the race. He is here to take us on the path and the direction that we give him. And he understands that those paths and directions do change. And he has been very good at getting on board with that and switching gears and going in those directions. And so, and at the same time, much like our city attorney, his demeanor with us, or at least with me, I don't know how he treats you guys, but with me, it's really good. It's very business. There's no emotion. It's very, these are the facts. These are what we can do. This is what we can't do. Educating me, the whys, right? Because we ask a lot of whys and why nots behind the scene that most people don't really get to see. And so he does a very good job of that, and he brings a ton of knowledge into the city manager role. You know, again, we don't see how he handles his staff day in and day out. We don't see that aspect of the operational portion of managing, you know, a municipality like the city of Port Orange, but we see the results. And, you know, when you look at the things that have happened just in the last year since his last evaluation, and Wayne is the first one to give credit to his staff. I will say that. I'm not even going to ask him to say it. He does. He does it very, very regularly. He is very proud of his staff. By the way, you guys should all know that. He is extremely proud of his staff. He has done a good job putting a talented staff together so that we can continue to move this city forward no matter what tomorrow brings. And we're in a good position with that because of Wayne's leadership and his experience that he brings to the table. So I think he is certainly a benefit to our city. He is, he may not have the most experience as a city manager in Volusia County, specifically with that title, but he has a lot of municipal government experience and knowledge that I think is extremely unique. And he continues to learn all the time, and I think he really enjoys and likes that aspect of his job as well. So I'll start on this end. Lance.
Yeah, Wayne and I, we met and had some good discussions, some good dialogue, and again, I expressed to Wayne, you know, every good leader has to build his own team, and you're only as good as your team, and I feel as though Wayne is really putting together the pieces that it's going to take for him to do his job and lead us into the future. And again, you know, my expression to him was, we're not worried about the cracked sidewalks here today. We let Robin worry about that, and we're going to worry about where we are 5, 10, and 25 years from now, the same as what our previous leaders had to do, and I think Wayne has that vision. And I don't get me wrong, I did ask Wayne straight up, do you ever raise your voice? And he answered no. So I was a little concerned about that, but we're going to work through that. But we had a good meeting. I talked about the couple things that I would like us to focus on a little better as we move forward. And but I absolutely had no complaints, and I think and I expressed, Wayne, I appreciate the time that he gives me as a new council member. I mean, he meets with me anytime I need to be met with. We have our Monday meetings before every council meeting, and these meetings are that we have together are what's keeping me, in the know of exactly where we are and what we're doing and how we do it and the ins and the outs, and I do appreciate that. But then, like I told Wayne, I said I just want you to get a little meaner, but we'll see what happens next year.
Sean.
Well, you didn't fill the room tonight with your evaluation.
You're disappointed, right?
So, one of the things that our responsibilities are to give our city manager and our staff the tools they need to be successful. And it's his department, it's his department heads, it's the people that he's put in place over the last 4 years that make this city one of the best cities in Volusia County. And I've been very vocal about some things in reference to giving you the tools when it came to the budget. Are you gonna be able to do your job with the tools that we're providing you? Now today we're going to be talking about, are we going to be able to give you the tool to remain a fantastic city manager and provide for your family? Because we're talking about your livelihood and your salary today. And I look at the comparisons of our surrounding cities and the responsibilities that those city managers have. I've known a few over the years of living here. Some that worked at the same city for a very long time, where Ken Parker was here for a very, very long time. And the South Daytona manager, Joe Yarbrough, was there for a very, very long time. And we had you here as our economic development director. I remember that. That's when I first met you. And you were on the staff. And I remember you had one arm tied behind your back because there were things you wanted to do but you couldn't because you weren't in charge. You were working for somebody. And but now that we've had you for 4 years, all I see is a full police force, a fantastic fire department, one heck of a Parks and Recreation department where we're going to have more kids than we have coaches. I mean, I get the opportunity to coach our youth here, and we need coaches. It's because people, the quality of life that they have in Port Orange is because of the team that you have surrounded yourself with over the last 4 years that have turned things around. And I have lived in another city in Volusia County, and I have coached in another city in Volusia County, and we were proud of the sports we had, and we had a lot of Port Orange kids playing there, not no more. I mean, we're providing that aspect of it, Parks and Recreation, not just for young kids, even for adults. At the Adult Community Center, we have a sellout for this Friday's bingo event. Not the first one, but both of them. The quality of opportunities that your staff are providing, Parks and Rec, fantastic. Your engineering team, for what we've been able to do, thanks to the council that was up here prior to me and Lance, the charge they gave you to go figure out what we can do to help our citizens in flooding. And then to witness all that what you did with Juneau and yourself and going to Tallahassee with Scott and watching you work your magic to get us $4.5 million and then now an additional 20-something million and hopefully another 20-something million. That just doesn't happen by accident. It happens by leadership. And you're doing a fantastic job. And then I look at, and I don't mean to go long on this, but this is very, very important to me. Your counterparts throughout this community, throughout Volusia County, and the number of citizens. So we have 65,000, 67,000 in Port Orange. Daytona's got 85,000, Deltona's got 100,000. They're a little commercial. They don't have a police department. New Smyrna Beach, 33,000. Holly Hill, 13,000. So I look at the salaries of those managers, because it was provided to us, public record, I'm assuming. And compensation. We're lucky we've got him still here, because his compensation last year, $195. Deltona's $215. New Smyrna's $233 with 33,000 residents. Holly Hill's $181, so he's got them beat there. There's 13,000 residents. He's got 500 employees, a full-time fire department, a full-time police department, one heck of a great Parks and Recreation department. And he brought his talent back to Volusia County. Not born and raised here, but worked here, left, got more experience, brought talent back, probably became a better leader being away. And I get to sit down with him before these meetings, and I try to get him to laugh, and he's just too darn professional. Thank God Robin's in there. He's just on it. And he maybe cracks up with you guys, but man, he's so serious with me. It's just, I can't get him I can't break him. At any rate, I'm only here for a year, so maybe over the next 3 years I'll break you, and you could smile a little in our meetings. But we need to work and give him the tools he needs. And so that's what I've got to say. I'm not ready to make a motion on salary because I want Lance to... Oh, do you already speak? Jeez, I spoke so long I forgot he already spoke. Scott, why don't you do your turn? No, I'm done. I think y'all know how I feel.
It's your position that we keep him hired here?
We're going to keep him hired, and it's our position that we need to take care of.
So, by the way, I will just let you know that regardless of what we pay him, he's not allowed to leave because his wife and family won't allow him to leave the city anymore. So
Not here tonight.
that's the truth behind the story.
That's our whole card.
Yeah, one attribute that I didn't speak on, and it came to mind while Sean was talking about, was how strategic Wayne really is. You know, I don't believe in kicking other cities or talking trash about other cities, or whatever you want to call that. But it is relative sometimes for us to look and see, like, how's our staff doing, or our city manager, or our city attorney, or whatever, comparatively to other cities in Volusia County. And there are some great, fabulous city managers and leaders and department heads all over Volusia County. There really are some talented people, and I've gotten to know a lot of them. I respect them tremendously. But just as a quick example of when I say how much of a strategic leader Wayne Clark really is, you know, if you just look at the stormwater aspect of the last few years, every city in Volusia County is dealing with the same concerns. Nobody escaped any of those concerns. And every city is trying to do exactly what Port Orange is trying to do. The reality of it is, we are way ahead. And I don't say that to be braggadocious. I say that as a credit to a city manager and his staff to put us in that position. There are cities and organizations still waiting for their stormwater master plans to be completed before they can even start really going after a lot of the funding and getting projects ready to go. There are cities who have identified, they definitely know they have a problem, but they don't actually have viable solutions that can be modeled. And we are there, we've been there. And so, you know, there may be a city out there that's ahead of us. I don't know, I haven't seen them, but perhaps. But my point to that is that I know we are way out ahead of the majority. And we owe that to a city manager who understood what council's direction was, created a strategy really fast with a talented staff, and said, okay, then we got to start doing this, and this right now. And encouraged us, and he was right, 100%, and we're on that good path. So I just wanted to make that based on Sean's comments. Go ahead, Tracy. All right, Reed? No, just kidding. Go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, I sit here and I listen to Councilman Greening, Gephardt, and I chuckle down inside. I remember my first year with Wayne. I was the young guy that came onto the dais 4 months in after Ian was appointed. There was no rule book. It was, here you go, good luck. And having Wayne look at me and go, okay, this is flood mitigation, this is flood. You got any other words to say? Flood. And it was dropped. And if we'd have talked way before that, it might have been a different question coming into this, right? It was understanding what I'd bit off, but having somebody to be able to come back to and have those conversations. Lance, I've seen him bad.
Have you?
Oh, I have.
Oh, man.
I've pushed some buttons. I've had some strong conversations with him. We've had tailgate talks out in the parking lot before just to make sure he knew that this is just me. It's okay. But he always comes back just same demeanor. Fires up, comes down. And it's awesome. Don't take this the wrong way, Wayne. That was my dad. I'm used to that. But it's in that time frame of the last 3 years, watching him, knowing that he was here a year before me, and knowing that the departments have all changed under new management, new leaderships, and that's all driven by the city manager. Your team that you've put together, and that's reality to this, is everything that keeps coming back to the city is because of one person's leadership to allow them to go out to find resources, to go out and think outside the box, to allow to bring that information back to him to steer the ship per se. How many millions of dollars this year alone?
A lot.
25 million dollars. Not a drop in the bucket, right? $25 million of that, and I would have thought if somebody had came in and told me $10 million we'd have been awarded, I'd have been going and doing the happy dance. But $25 million, and more to come. So for me, understanding what you have done is just incredible. Before I was on the dais, you guys had the forethought of putting a stormwater master plan together. I think this is something that really needs to be brought up to most people. You brought it together and was put out there for $550,000 to go get this thing. When I saw that bill, I was like, it's how much? And you go, yeah, that's the going rate. And I was like, good Lord, that seems like an awful lot of money. I want everybody to know that he had forethought to do that because now the master plan has to be done. Edgewater master plan. 23,000 people in Edgewater. We got 67,000 people. $1 million for their master plan. That's crazy. And that's all because these stormwater mitigation people, they know that you have to have it. Prices went up.
And they're years away still.
Yeah, 2 years away. So for taking your team, guiding your team, and making this happen is just incredible. But $25 million. If we were grant writers and we got $25 million to us, think about what that compensation would have been for a grant writer, finding $25 million. It's unbelievably, maybe you should be a grant writer. Don't do that.
Reed?
Were you actually done? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was
I didn't know if he was either.
Yeah, he's done.
You know, Wayne, everyone's already heaped a lot of praise on you, and rightfully so. Me and Scott were the only two up here that actually were involved in hiring you, and I think it was probably one of the best decisions that I've made on council in my entire time here. It was down to two other people, and I believe the other candidate ended up getting arrested or walked out on his city council or something, and so you know, and you've been nothing but a huge success as far as I'm concerned. From the money that's come in from Tallahassee and other programs to having just, you know, I would equate it to, like Lance was saying, about building a team. You do a really good job of being the general manager, which is what your job is find the right players to put in the right places. And throughout 4 or 5 years here, I've seen you put people in places and you think you got the free agent and realize you got to go out and draft somebody else, and you're not afraid to do that. Your version of getting mad is hilarious to me because it's not. It's more just your voice gets this much louder, but I can tell when you're mad and you're not afraid to do that. And I think overall, I think you're a great leader in that you lead by example. I'll never forget one of the conversations we had early on about, you know, you fired somebody because they left at like 4:50. You said, we close at 5. I'm here till 5. You're going to be here till 5, and little things like that. And while that's an old school mentality that a lot of people in my generation might not appreciate if they had to live under those rules, as someone who's responsible for taxpayer dollars and for 60-some thousand residents, I do appreciate it because I know it means a lot to them. And so I can't say enough good things about your time here. No one reaches out to me and complains about you for anything. Even the times that we have faced criticism up here, that you've faced criticism, it's been for things that are completely out of your control or that you had no hand in how they first arrived to the city and are now trying to retrofit and fix those things. So, you know, I can't say, like I said, I just can't say enough good things, especially when I look at the achievement list over the last several years. It's massive and it continues to grow longer, and I think that's a testament to you and specifically your ability to lead and hire and all these staff members who work behind you. You are a sum of all their hard work, and you're that mouthpiece, and so you know, it's your relationship with us is valuable. I know you and I talk all the time, whether I'm in town or not. And you know, you keep me fully plugged in, and I'm extremely grateful to have you here. And I don't want you even looking at Indeed or any of these other websites trying to find out where there might be a job opening. And I plan to talk salary about that to make sure you don't.
I feel like there's going to be some collusion between the city manager and the city attorney. There'll be, on the next agenda, there's going to be a new ordinance that during a review, you can only talk for 90 seconds each. Because I know for both of them, this is a pretty painful thing, because neither one of these guys their egos are well in check, and I know it's uncomfortable for them to sit up here and be bragged upon, but it's well deserved, so. All right, gentlemen, let's talk compensation. I know you guys have all been provided the data in terms of salary and comparisons around Volusia County. I'll just break the ice and tell you that I think anything less than about $215,000 in terms of where he should be on his salary, I gotta think that that's about the starting position. Knowing what we've got, seeing the talent we have, seeing the competitiveness around the county area. Yeah, there are some folks that have sat in that city manager role for much, much longer, and I give credit to that. And I think their salaries and benefits reflect that. But I kind of feeling like that's about where we need to probably start. But I'll leave that to you, gentlemen, because somebody will have to put a motion on the table.
I don't mind jumping in here. I took that spreadsheet and did some deep math on it. Some things that bothered me as I was looking at it specifically is New Smyrna Beach has half the population and does not have full service. Wayne, correct me, I mean, we have fire, we have police, we have obviously John employees. They don't have utilities that city manager has to deal with. And I'm looking at the city manager's incumbent salary, $233, and then the retirement being about $35, whereas Wayne's at $39. When you divide out total compensation by residents, he's actually the second lowest, which is why I don't think that's the best number to completely make these decisions off of. You can't compare Ponce Inlet's 3,400 people to our 67,000, or can you compare the number of employees Wayne has to deal with? But for me, looking at that, I would like to at least discuss the possibility of going to 230, which if you put that number out there, it's a little less than the salary of the New Smyrna, who again does not have utilities, and Wayne does have a little more retirement in there than that put him about even with New Smyrna. I do also want to I just want to point out something to everyone up here. When Wayne first took this job, he did not have any years of experience as an actual city manager. He brought tons of experience as a community development director. He has shown amazing leadership in his time here, and he's helped us navigate a lot of issues that we've had arise pretty well, I think. And he came in with that, when he took that position, he came in and took that salary, knowing good and well it was probably a year or two behind because of how the process had played out, that we had our city manager, Johansson, leave and go the way it all went down. He probably ended a year or two behind, and I'm not sure that we've caught up to that when you look at this market. So again, my number's 230 right now. I'm open to hearing what everyone else has to say.
Tracy, what are you thinking? You got a number in mind?
I had 220 written down.
You got a number in mind, Sean?
I was closer to the 220 number, and
By the way, the retirement stuff that we did was the same that we did for Matt, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that discussion's the same.
one of the things that me and Wayne met today, and he brought up some really good points, and back to some of the good things that have happened. I mean, I remember Steve came up here and brought the fact that they're doing some things over there. They're being really proactive as staff members, saving the city money, which has allowed us to keep our millage rate where it's at, and keep the taxes where, obviously we had a little increase, but we were able to keep our millage rate where it was last year because of a lot of things. We had 0 comments on our audit without a financial guy here.
We have one.
We have one now, thank God, because he hired someone. The debris removal after Milton, there wasn't anyone available to do that, but he figured out a way to get it done. Savings in our water system, the new rollover in our technology It saves us big time from cyber attacks and so forth. The EMS division that came online, that's generated revenue, but more importantly provided better care for our residents. All these things in just the last couple years. So I have no problem, and I've analyzed the salaries. Not to take, and I'm glad you mentioned this. I know it's a public hearing, and people are going to hear this. I don't want to take anything away from what the city managers and other cities are doing. I hope that no one takes it that way. What I'm trying to do is, you compare salaries throughout the state based on population and responsibilities. This city has all the responsibilities and a collective bargaining agreement on top of that with the 500 plus employees. So there's a lot of things that work into this, and to see that other cities, one that don't even have their utilities, they have the utilities division. I just want us to be competitive, and at 230 it does make him competitive there, and I like that. I really like that number, and I want him to retire from here, not anytime soon. After 12 years would be good, but I don't want to be up here having to find another city manager because he was offered something better somewhere else, like another municipality 10 miles south of us. So I'm good with that number at 230.
Lance?
Well, I don't want to be the naysayer here, but we're doing this every year. So what was last year's number? I'm just curious. How much did we increase his pay? Was it last year?
Off the top of my head, I want to say it was 185. Or,
So you went from 185 to 195. But here you guys want to jump $35,000 in 1 year, and we're going to do it again next year. So I'm just, again,
I definitely think this for me.
You don't have to give him a raise at all next year.
And
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Not trying to debate. For me, just explain my position a little bit more. I do feel like Wayne came in lower than he should have started to begin with, and so to me this is a one-time catch-up, which we've had to do in other departments and with other things. I don't anticipate us seeing these kind of raises coming forward for everyone every year. I think we nibbled away at it last year. Matt and Wayne lagged the market pretty severely, and I think we took a bite. I think we do need to take one more big bite, and then we'll be looking at raises consistent with the rest of the organization.
Okay.
So I want to make sure, I'm not saying this is a forever thing. I just feel like we have two outstanding people that we're all grading with A's. I don't want them looking at job applications.
All right.
That's my.
I get that.
But I'm not ready to die on the hill at 230. I'll support 220 in a heartbeat.
I'd like to reclaim my time.
Sorry.
Again, so just to be clear, Mr. Mayor, the $39,000 on retirement, does that adjust annually as well?
So he has the same adjustment that is coming from the previous council,
Okay.
which, by the way, we can do with wages too. But he has the same adjustment that the city attorney. So it went up to 17.5% this year, effective October 1, and it will go up another 2.5% next year on October 1
Okay.
to 20% total,
Okay.
based on his salary, whatever his
Because
salary
I
is.
look at total compensation. I don't want to look at just necessarily the salary. I look at the total package. So I'm at the number with you, Scott, in this particular situation at 215 on the base salary. Okay.
Just because I have the calculator up, assuming he's going to get to the 20% retirement, that would put total compensation at 258, 215, and then I'd put 258 as his total compensation once he's at the 20% next year. Correct. Just having a little forward thought
Right.
there.
Right.
Right.
All right, so we've got two of us that are about 215, two of us at one at 220 and two at 230. You know what? If we can, guys, let's come to an agreement here. Let's get this done. Let's try to be 5-0 on this if we can, and move on from here. So.
Again, we got to look at what kind of city afford. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
can we
no.
afford
Absolutely.
this kind of jump this year? Because again, I feel again, we got to do this every single year, and I don't want to go and take huge climbs to get Wayne where he needs to be, but at the same time, we still gotta be able to afford this.
Remind me, Scott, you just laid it out, but where's everyone at?
So it looks like averaging, we're right at about 220.
I'll make a motion for 220,000 as his salary with no other changes.
I would second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to increase the city manager's base salary to $220,000 from its current salary of $195,000. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on council before we vote? I think we beat it up enough. Anybody from the public wish to speak to it? Stan, going once, twice, three? Okay. All right, back to council, last chance. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Grubbs?
Yes.
Mayor Slaughter?
Yes, 5-0. You two will have to buy your, just a second. Oh, and I'm sorry, one second. I'm gonna come back to you. I didn't give you a chance to comment on your behalf if you'd like, but go ahead, you can do it.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate the council that hired me and the one that's letting me stay here. The family does appreciate it. I'm very proud of the city. I think it's a great community. I do think even though occasionally we get with some contested items here, most of the people really love living here. Very safe community. I think the trunk or treat is exactly what we're all about. That's what we do. That's the kind of place we are. Probably the best thing out of this tonight, probably Matt and I both, is that knowing that we're on the same page with the council, the same strategy, the same vision, the same direction, what that does is allow these people here that do all the work, as you've all pointed out. These guys are out there, they're proactively finding ways to do things better, all those great ideas. One of them came and brought it to me. That's the best way for me to keep this team together. If we want to keep winning national championships, you keep the team together, and the kind words and the support and keeping Matt here, the stability among us keeps this team together. That's what allows us to continue to deliver great services at great value to this community. So thank you.
Great. And the five of us will all work on being as the brevity that you have.
There's some lights less than 95.
I think I know where you're going.
Need to be
Yeah,
addressed.
I need to make an effective date on that. I'm assuming, I missed the effective date, is that what you're gonna tell me?
I think your intention was to be the next.
Next pay period, that was my intention, same as Matt's.
And we both have contract provisions that specify when this takes place. We just ran into an issue where we had a bunch of collective bargaining agreements that were open. We wanted to get those all resolved. So if I can get a quick consensus that we can revise that revisions, so it's not a hard, fast date of when the eval takes place, just on or before the next fiscal year, it'll give us that latitude to do that.
Just pull it off for a couple of years.
That's fine.
Everybody good with that?
You guys all good with that? We have
Yeah.
consensus?
Yeah.
Thank you. Consensus on all that? All right, moving on. Item 15, City Council Committee Reports. Mr. Foley.
I had a pinch hitter for this one.
So
Designate, oh yeah.
Yeah, TPO meeting went quite well. One of the big things that came out of it is the Willow Run and Harm's Way extension for the sidewalks is coming. That's a $90,000 add-on to our city that TPO is taking care of, so that's coming.
Excellent. Yeah, the sidewalk stuff all over Volusia County is a big topic, and it's concrete. It's going to break. You know, it's hard. What do they say? There's two things about concrete to know for sure. It's going to get hard and it's going to break at some point. Is that right?
You are, yeah.
So, anything else?
Nope.
Anything else to come before council? All right, we will see you guys back here in 2 weeks. Have a great night.